call to order the Solid Waste and Recycling Board Committee on this 28th of July, 2022. And I guess first thing we need to do is approve the agenda for today.
My only suggestion, I think. No, forget. I read it wrong. The date was off.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I guess we're looking at the minutes from way back in January 27th. Approve the minutes.
Recommend approval.
Second, all right. Minutes there. All right, interim, we can introduce ourselves now. I can start, I guess. I'm Kim Corley. I represent District 8.
Sally Dennis, District 7.
Mike Bennett, District 3.
Kristen A., Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort Liaison.
Bill Grain at District 6.
Garrett Wilson, Town of Bluffton.
Martrell Horn, Solid Waste and Recycling.
Angel Marcinkoski, Solid Waste and Recycling.
Neil Desai, Beaufort County Public Works Director.
And Morgan Jeffries, I work for the Clerk to Council's office.
All right. Next, do we have is there any public here? I don't think so. All right. Next thing on the list is updates regarding any meetings with County Council. Has anybody had any meetings or anything to report?
No.
I got actually a pretty good significant, a lot of times go by. And so, as I guess from back in January, we started working on it. Let me give you a little quick history on this, because I'm going to throw some acronyms out there that you should know. So the town of Hilton Head has kind of a civic arm called the Greater Island Council that they use as a recommendation board. Okay, it's just private citizens, but it's got quite a bit of good. You might have heard of it, the GIC. The GIC back in 2015 established what they called the Sustainability Advisory Committee off of the GIC. So that's the SAC, right? So the SAC's mission was literally to advise and recommend and make resolutions towards definitive action in order to help guide the town of Hilton Head. You may be aware that the town of Hilton Head, approximately maybe 3 years ago, I guess it was 3 years ago, I was on the board for the one plan, their comprehensive plan. Well, this plan, they had a pretty substantial sustainability component to it. If you ever get a chance to read something, you should take a look. But they did a really good job at actually addressing some of the sustainability concerns. They did it from the public's input, so it was very nice. So that really actually put things in motion. So we've been working, I sit on the Sustainability Advisory Committee, and we've been working to help guide any of those actions based on the plan, the comp plan, or to help guide the town. Okay, that was kind of the mission. So with all of this going on with the landfill, understanding that there's a correlation between the town, obviously, and the waste and the landfill contracts and the recycling, all that stuff, that's been a big initiative of the Sustainability Advisory Committee. So effective about 2 months ago, after many readings and resolutions, the Greater Island Council got full approval from the town as a recognition of the resolution, and I'll read the resolution to you. The resolution recommending Hilton Head Town Council and Beaufort County Council work together in the development of a long-term agreement that will secure the landfill and recycling needs of Hilton Head Island and Beaufort County. Whereas Beaufort County landfill is nearing the end of its lifespan and the current landfill operation or landfill operating agreement with Waste Management disincentivizes recycling. And whereas the landfill operating contract is terming in 2025, a renegotiation with an emphasis on recycling is an opportunity that could promote landfill diversion, recycling, and extend the life of the landfill. And whereas the 25-year land contract between Waste Management and Beaufort County come up for renewal in 3 years, and this contract takes years to renegotiate and to close the term, and the closer the end of the contract, the more leverage the landfill operator has due to imminent expiration of the landfill services agreement. By taking a leadership position and acting now, the town and the county will both benefit economically and environmentally. And whereas any new contract should meet the following requirements: be open during peak times to meet the needs of the local community, include additional investment into the recycling process, which would increase the ability for recycling operations that would lead to financial advantages, include the development of a solid waste transfer station that would enable Hilton Head to make reasonable, sustainable decisions about the waste and recycling hauling for Hilton Head Island. Beaufort County should take greater control of the landfill and the recycling operations to limit exposure to the whims of the corporation and specifically seek to develop a more long-term sustainable solution for recycling. Whereas Beaufort County is paying for landfill disposal fee but not paying for recycling processing fees, meaning that any robust recycling initiative needed to reduce the waste and extend the landfill cycle are not being explored. Commercial solid waste producers are required to pay disposal and recycling costs themselves. Exploring new recycling alternatives would be financially advantageous for the town and Beaufort County. Now, therefore, the Greater Island Council of Hilton Head Island and Beaufort strongly encourage the Hilton Head Town Council and Beaufort County Council to take a leadership position, work together to begin negotiation with current landfill operator and other potential landfill or recycling operators. Be proactive in the development of a long-term agreement that will secure the landfill and recycling needs of the Hilton Head Island and Beaufort County. That was accepted and adopted by the town, and so far, they have now set forth, I've had meetings with a couple of representatives from the town about and more engagement, and I think you guys may have been a part of it. We started to meet with Cindy on a more frequent basis to really kind of hopefully push these initiatives and get these things moving forward. So there's actually a second resolution that addresses the specifics. I can't speak to it right now, but that should be going through the approval process, which will address the very specific needs of what's needed. It's a lot of the stuff we're already kind of looking at, the MRF, the Beaufort County MRF, getting the recycling first, single hauler, that's on the table. I can tell you that the town is interested in looking back at that once the recycling's fixed and stuff like that. So the next resolution, the nice thing is that they're not going unheard. It's nice to actually have some energy behind this, and the town is taking this sort of stuff very serious. So that's it.
What we should do as a committee, I mean, you're on the committee, you're already doing something, but wonder what else we could do.
I think, really, they get a lot of their information from what we do in this committee, because I sit on the board. So I think as long as we understand that we agree to that resolution, which I think we all kind of do, that know that that's the process, we keep moving forward and do not let the pressure go. And as a committee, probably talk to your own county representatives in your own towns and make sure that they're on board with that sort of stuff. So we're driving that train in the same direction.
They're looking for extended hours due to the fact of all of the timeshares and everything is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at what happened to our agreement, if you know the history of the Republic single hauler agreement, that was a huge problem. Huge problem.
That was a huge mistake.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes.
But
Yes.
Well, you got three totally different animals
right.
on Hilton Head.
Yeah.
You got timeshare, you got restaurants, and you got residential, and they're totally different operations in different times. It's
Exactly right. Yeah, it was a great learning opportunity, and they didn't want to go near it for a very long time. He was involved. They didn't want to go near it for a very long time because it had a lot of issues. But at any failure, you can learn and grow and make success. Because I think we all agree that a single hauler, getting some of these trucks off the road and having a single hauler system and making it cheap and effective and recycling more, all those things are what we're trying to accomplish. And that, I think, couldn't have been, I thought it was a blessing to have that contract, because you look at it now, you can make something that makes sense.
I come from an area where towns exceed the population of Beaufort County in general, and whole towns basically overnight went to townwide municipal collection, residential collection, separate out commercial and all of the others in a very painless process. Contracts were small enough. There were restrictions on how many contracts an individual hauler could get. And it was really such a simple process if you really approach it realistically. No, a single hauler is a kiss of death, but
What's like the next step or your next step for your committee?
For the SAC, we'll finalize that second resolution, which will have more
Okay,
specifics.
then that'll go to the
And then
Hilton
hopefully,
Head
once they buy into
Council.
that, then we have some teeth beyond just the hour plan steps. Because they are, any comp plan, and you've seen it in ours, they're very vague. They kind of keep things 20 years out. And you can. So our plan is very similar, although it's narrowed quite a bit from the last one. But yeah, the SAC will put in some more definitive steps to fulfill that plan. And if the town buys into it, hopefully we'll have some
No, I said that really they should look at it as three totally separate problems and not try to approach it as a single problem with three solutions to it. It's hack away at one at a time.
Yeah, they will start delving into that here, hopefully soon. You know, and I'm excited because this is the farthest the town's come, especially when talking about a single hauler. I mean, that was like.
You use the term the MSW transfer station. Is that what you really mean?
I know, we've talked about this before.
Yeah, the real, yeah.
Everybody else seems to understand, but, you know,
All right, hopefully.
so anyway, it's just things in motion, you know.
Okay, well, there'll be timelines probably with this next step and so forth, maybe step one, step two, step three.
The county's the big part of it. I mean, without fixing the recycling component of this, and we talked about this when we looked at a single hauler, 5 single haulers across the board. If you don't fix the recycling side of this, you're disincentivizing it, and any contract you go in is going to be skewed because of that, and you're going to continue to disincentivize recycling. So the MRF is really the first step, and that actually says that in that resolution. That we're getting the whole of that process is absolutely critical if you want to expand that operation. Waste Management's already done it. They got a landfill.
There's a county MRF and then there's county MRF. Everything that I kind of listen to is MRF oriented toward convenience center, not county-wise. If that's really the intent of the solid waste plan, then you got a big problem.
I don't think that's the intent of the solid waste plan. I think we could talk more about that, but I think, you know, it's pretty clear that I think the county wants to take control of the recycling process in its entirety, including coming from the convenience centers. I think that's pretty.
It's not clear to me reading the plan.
Well, those things are usually vague anyway.
The devil's in the detail of everything, so yeah. I guess we're getting to the report section now. I'm not sure who's doing which reports today.
That'll be me. You'll here. So it's great to see everyone again. We've reached the end of fiscal year 2022, and we're going to highlight the data to reflect the impact that the decal program has had on our operations and budget. So the first thing, I'm excited to announce that Beaufort County was recognized nationally last week at the National Association of County Conference in Colorado for the implementation of the decal system. We are up for another award next week on August 3rd from the South Carolina Association of Counties Conference, and I will be representing solid waste and recycling.
Congratulations
All right,
on that.
Hauling from the centers has continued to be reduced. We have averaged 557 pulls monthly this fiscal year compared to an average of 664 monthly during fiscal year 21. This graph is a part of your board report. The savings from hauling this fiscal year are $182,700. So this next slide shows the trend for hauling costs over the last 3 years. It is split into 6-month intervals. You can easily see the upward costs until mid-fiscal year 20, then the sharp decline in fiscal year 21, and then the steady figures for fiscal year 22. Beaufort County pays for all residential household garbage disposal, both residential curbside and collection centers. The disposal savings were $122,526 in fiscal year 22. So the total savings for both hauling and disposal is $305,227.
Quick question. So the disposal costs have gone down, and that's out of the convenience centers primarily? Or does that disposal include the landfill and the convenience? What does that include?
I believe this would be the data that we have from the convenience centers, but I can
Convenience center tonnage?
check on that. Our fiscal year 22 residential tonnage was 85,272. This is 5,006 fewer tonnage than fiscal year 21. As a reminder, these savings are impressive, but as population and tipping fees increase, the decal program is not going to be the final solution. So the trend line for disposal is reflective of all residential disposal. The peaks are not as noticeable as this includes curbside and the collection center charges. Fiscal year 22 traffic through the centers is down 393,544 vehicles compared to fiscal year 21. We do continue to stay below the trend line. Total center traffic is notably reduced over the last 5 years. Residential curbside customers most likely have an impact on the traffic numbers at the center. Over the last 6 years, residential curbside accounts reported by private haulers have increased by 54%. Our fiscal year 22 annual recycling tonnage totaled 3,453.6 tons and included 472.92 tons of newsprint. Recycling costs were reduced by $259,702 from fiscal year 21. Unfortunately, there was tonnage reduction in recycling from fiscal year 21 of 1,042.47 tons.
I have a question. With all of the recyclables that go to the transfer station, do you get any information back from Waste Management of what was really recycled?
Well, Cindy and Victoria did do a field trip out to look at one of the MRFs, and we are working on setting up a field trip maybe for the board to go out and see one of the MRFs in Ridgeland. If that's something, I know we had emailed and that was something that
Yeah,
was
I really would like to
yeah, just to kind of
see
ask
the
some
transfer
questions
station.
and see.
And then also where they're transferring to and what's being recycled. To me, I don't think you're able to distinguish recyclables at the transfer station between Beaufort County and anybody else. So it just becomes a whole commingled mess. And should it be separated so you can truly get a handle on what you're truly recycling from the county?
Well, they scale. So the yard, when they come in, I don't know if they're doing this, but they scale the trucks. So the truck knows where it came from. You know, it came from X, you know, whatever, and they'll scale it.
Commingled, okay.
You know, yeah, it's always commingled from,
Yep.
well, no, it's one truck. They pull one load, and they take one load from, you know, the Hilton Head Recycling Center, take it, scale it, dump it, scale off and go. So as long as they're keeping their records, which Waste Management, you know, they're pretty forthright about that stuff. They should be accurate as far as the
Right.
I
tonnage.
think what he's saying is like, you know how sometimes they'll like reject the load and say,
Right, okay,
we had to throw it, like, I think that's what he's saying,
Okay.
are we really tracking what they're really doing versus,
Yeah.
okay.
That's
Fair enough.
just-
I had an ollie cost to the
Accumulated
landfill and
Right.
recycling.
Yeah, they're not tracking that.
And it's-
Because we've asked that information last week from them
Yeah.
about how much are you actually waste, how much is waste and how much is actually recycled.
Gotcha, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've been there once and there was so much stuff stored outside, inside. No, they're working on dollars and market. And so the county really, I perceive, doesn't have a clue what is truly recycled as opposed to just transferred.
So we plan to continue working on new educational campaigns to increase recycling and reduce contamination. Continued discussions of a MRF in Beaufort County should boost our recycling goals. Recycling revenues remain positive at $416,322, less additional waste management processing costs of $83,353. Profit for fiscal year 22 is $332,968.
That's VFA, fine, yeah.
Any questions?
Is there any kind of like projections or thought being put into the fact that, if the economy goes down, less people are going to, we've kind of implemented the system as the economy was getting better, so people were more likely to pay the, 20, 25 bucks a month to have the curbside. Do we think that these numbers could alter if people decide that's not worth it anymore?
And that's something that, along with our MERP and everything else, we need to be looking at and discussing.
And along those lines, the commodities prices for the past year have been fantastic, and they are declining as we speak. You're going to see obviously a correction, and so it's something to consider in any sort of budgeting. Which is hard to forecast, but it's the same lines. Not to mention a withdrawal of service, but withdrawal in value.
Well, really, what is your objective? Is it to recycle? To avoid landfilling? Or to recycle with a profit?
Well, both.
That's easier said than done.
From a county perspective, you got to look at it a little differently than a private organization.
I don't agree with that. I think you do both. I think that's the county's issue, is they don't look at it from like a private organization.
Well,
But
you still have to look at it with markets and stuff, but
yeah, it's a business. It's definitely a business, and you have to, when you look at it, you got to be nimble and you got to work the system and pay attention to it. But you can do both. You can recycle more and make money, but you got to be real nimble to be able to do it.
that's researching markets and availability and how you get it there.
Yes, cost is everything.
Like we had our own transport equipment. So the transport cost was a small part of it to change it compared to a private one.
Well, that goes back to the sustainability campus, and the actual vision behind the sustainability campus is not, in order to recycle more, you can create a MRF, that's fantastic, great, okay? That'll solve one part of it, but you need manufacturers nearby to limit your shipping cost, and that is what the sustainability campus was designed to incorporate, was all aspects of that transport, and to buffer yourself against as much of those variables as you can. Shipping is a big one, but if you can bring manufacturers close, like Glassworks, right, that just made glass recyclable. I mean, that's a great story. If you can work with the development companies to bring in, or the economic development companies, organizations to bring in manufacturing to where you can use this material, that should really ultimately be the end goal in order to protect the recycling markets. A company like mine is what I do. I'm looking at making something because I need to insulate myself. I can't keep paying shipping costs and relying on somebody else to buy the product at a reduced margin. But that's the kind of thinking you got to have if you're going to open up MRF and really actually want to be successful at it. But you can. It can be done. Sorry.
Okay, so electronics, our next event is August 27th. The county currently contracts our electronic recycling events with Powerhouse out of Salisbury, North Carolina. Beginning January 1st, 2023, South Carolina has initiated a manufacturer's clearinghouse program that will handle collection from counties that opt in by August 1st, 2022. Beaufort County will continue to be serviced by Powerhouse for the upcoming August 27th event, both at the Bluffton location and the Shanklin location in Beaufort, as well as a final contracted event on December 10th. After that time, the clearinghouse program will determine dates and vendors for recycling. This is a new program for everyone, so we will continue to work towards a smooth transition in the new year.
Is there a limit on how many you can take?
I have not seen anything, but it may be in the paperwork.
They limit, depending on, they start the limit normally depending on how quickly the trucks fill up.
So they're still looking at doing scheduled, like quarterly. They're not going to have like a
Well, we won't know
location.
once the clearinghouse takes over. So what it is it's a program, it's a company where they're coming in and they're, you know, basically your Samsung, LG, all these companies that make electronics, they're kind of putting that burden on recycling to them, to where they're kind of running it now and will determine, like Andrew said, the dates of and locations of pickups for each county. Yeah. So all the big name electronic companies will be footing the bill.
Interesting, smart. I mean, ultimately us, but
Recycling.
what's that?
So they can get the parts.
Oh, yeah.
Recycle.
That's why they really want the party done.
Yeah, they don't want, just to get the parts back,
Ah,
remanufacture those parts.
We received 2 DHEC grants for fiscal year 23 out of 4 possible applications. The Solid Waste General Recycling Award will help with recycling education, and the Used Oil Award continues to support the maintenance of clean oil and filter recycling operations at the centers. No waste hire awards were made this year due to increased contractor funding. Our proposal for a large food waste composting project was in the running but fell short. Only 2 grants were awarded. We will respond to the comments provided and submit a stronger application for fiscal year 24.
Hey, Angel, I think I forwarded it to Cindy, but I'll go back and check. But I have some information on some recycling grants that you can get through the infrastructure bill. There's gonna be a lot of that available. It might be something that you guys wanna look into as far as securing some federal grants. So I'll go back through and try to dig that information up and share it.
Okay.
it makes sense, it would be infrastructure.
Caroline was unable to join us today, but she did provide some notes for the Adopt a Highway program. Through June 30th, 3,320 bags of litter were removed. Palmetto Pride continues to be supportive of our program. An educational rack card was developed and it is available today. We have had 2 ads on the electronic billboard on Highway 170 in Okeechobee for the campaign to reduce roadside litter. Solid Waste and Recycling also has a new Facebook page, and we continue to post Adopt a Highway group photos to say thank you for their volunteer efforts. Caroline and Cindy recently met with Hilton Head Island staff to improve their Adopt a Highway volunteer groups and signage. Finally, we will host the annual Adopt a Highway meeting on September 22nd, Belfair Clubhouse.
Is that a new logo?
That is.
Looks good.
I'll be very brief today. We have pictures from this past weekend's Water Festival parade. We had our electric car. We weren't able to get the electric ATV that we received from our last grant in this time. But also a lot of fun. We got our kayaks wrapped to match the Public Works Munson boat, to keep our waters clean. So we got that out. A lot of kids love Rerun. He's literally becoming a household name. Like, we were driving the truck and the kids are going crazy. They know who he is. The parents do. So that's good for our education. And we just got out with Beaver County started an internal group amongst employees called Emerging Leaders, and they hosted a kayak cleanup last month where we were able to get the kayaks out with them. So we look forward to using them a lot more. They've helped us in the past when we first got them with TVs that were in ditches that were full of water. So they worked out great for that. And that's it for me today. So thank you.
Easy.
Short, right?
Easy.
Normally I'm longer.
Okay, so we're gonna move on down to the discussion items. The first thing, the hauling contract award. RFP 040122 was awarded to Republic Service on June 3rd, 2022. Going on to 14, the solid waste management plan update. This was presented to Public Facilities Committee on May 16th for information only after workshop edits and a final email to board members. The plan was brought back to Public Facilities Committee for approval on June 20th, 2022. Full council approved the plan on June 27th. The solid waste ordinance 62. Abby Goldsmith is reviewing ordinance 62 in coordination with the solid waste management plan update and comments provided previously by staff and Mr. Grainer. As with the solid waste management plan, some language will remain consistent with the state. Once updates are drafted, we will bring this before the board and then on to Public Facilities Committee. Okay, the next thing, reorganization. Solid waste and recycling has merged back with Public Works effective July 1st, 2022. We will remain an enterprise fund. Neil Desai is the Public Works Director and served on the board as a representative of District 1 in the past. Dave Wilhelm has returned to Public Works as the Deputy Director. Victoria Hoffman has moved from Recycling Coordinator in Solid Waste and Recycling to Project Coordinator in Public Works. Her position has been posted and filled. We will be excited to welcome Chloe, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce this last name, McGugan, starting August 22nd. There are lots of changes and we look forward to lots of progress for solid waste and recycling.
Wow, that's a lot of change, man. Forward and back and round and. Can we jump back to number 15 real quick? And I was just looking at you said the solid waste ordinance is gonna come before us for review. Well, we have, or we should probably make sure we have enough time to review that. And that may be an opportunity to look at wording and language while you're hitting the ordinance. I don't know, but if that's the case, then we probably need to make sure we set enough time to really look at that. It is the ordinance, which, what do you guys think?
There will also be some ordinance reviews for some of the difficulties I'm having with going to court on tickets, so that'll be in there as well. Just so we want to make sure all of our penalties and maybe even some of the ordinance mirror state statute, so it simplifies it for the court process, a lot for the judges and the prosecutors as well. So you'll see that in there.
But it sounds like something we probably need to look at good, not just gloss over. And well, I wonder, do you think they'll use the state terminology?
That's what we hope for, yes.
So at least that'll start narrowing that.
I had gone through the ordinance back months ago and totally marked it up for Cindy on terminology.
Good. Okay, good. So that process has already started. Okay, that was it. I just didn't want to leave that. I want to make sure.
But I think that you should,
investigation.
the ordinance really should come before the solid waste update to really gel.
Any other questions?
Can we just stick with the solid waste plan for a second?
Sure.
Way back, kept talking about MRF as a single stream MRF. Is that still the intent?
Yes,
A single stream MRF,
yes,
not mixed recyclable?
single stream.
So therefore it's only for the convenience centers.
Possibly also for the municipalities.
Municipalities don't separate.
Not at this time.
Goes my whole problem with the solid waste plan. It's really, to my terminology would be the Beaufort County Convenience Center solid waste plan and not Beaufort County plan. I just looked at too many different plans and I read it as a totally different document.
Even if it comes into a projected MRF that Beaver County may create, Neil and Dave for a long time, along with Cindy, if it comes in as dual stream, they've looked at countless companies that provide, the adequate machine to break it down a single stream.
Yeah, because and you were going to end up.
We're gonna have
with
sorting
separate-
lines, yes.
You're gonna end up
So
with
if it comes in
separate
as dual stream, they'll leave it single.
MRF doesn't mean just single stream. MRF is recovery facilities.
Well,
You'll have.
With terminology that's been used historically, I was led to believe that they're looking at single stream as if it were coming from the convenience centers and not from a commingled vehicles dropping cardboard, glass, plastics. And I really think that has to be clarified in the solid waste plan because it's to me, it's a world of difference.
Well, single stream coming out of the trucks that's single stream or mixed recycling. Those terms are very interchanged in the recycling world.
Then somebody has to do a lot of clarification.
And I think setting the MRF up for a single stream or, is the right way to go because that's your worst case scenario. Your other scenario is dual stream, single or source separated type of material where you still have to clean it. That takes actually equipment, things like that, and different lines and it's actually an expansion on the service than just taking single stream. Single stream is not a good answer, let me tell you, I don't like it, but to frame the plan as single stream and then move away from that is much easier, I think, than.
Maybe I'm just confused in terminology, but no. Waste management comes through my neighborhood, Sun City, picks up 8,000 dwelling units, everything's in the same truck.
Stream.
Yeah.
Single stream.
Where I come from, it gets dumped on the tipping floor
That's exactly what
and
happened.
then go through processing.
That's exactly, in a recovery facility. The stuff that comes out of convenience centers would be considered almost, that's definitely dual and tri-stream. It's actually very clean, we kind of bash it, but it's.
Yeah, I consider that to be, quote, single stream.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's not I wouldn't consider that single stream at all, that's actually like because it's separated, your plastics are commingled, right? There's ones and twos and stuff like that, but you're literally plastics, glass, that's separated material. I do think, though, it's a shame, and this is one of my gripes with waste management, same as you're saying, is they take that stuff and dump it and then commingle it back and then ship it to Raleigh to then go back and be separated again, which is just a tragedy, really, but it's not, we're paying for it.
That's all I have.
Oh, that's it, okay. All right, any other comments or board requests?
Yeah, I had requested, way back, we were going to have a tour of the
Oh, yeah.
transfer station,
Yeah, the trees.
but, quote, because of COVID, it was canceled. I would love to get to spend the day there and then at their actual processing.
Over there real quick?
Excuse me?
You want to go over there after this? I'll ride with you. It's right around the corner, and it's not even,
I know.
like, you're gonna walk up and be like, oh, okay. There's no tour involved. But if you want to go, I'll go after this. I'll run up there with you.
Yeah, I just didn't want to go in without formal approval. I've driven by many times.
I know the attendants and stuff. They're pretty good guys.
I'd rather have
Field trip.
a formal county authorized
Feel
trip.
too, we can do that. That's fun.
If you want to go, I can set something. I can get you in there.
I mean,
I can get you in if you want.
and spending some time, I know, like to me, Wednesday or Thursday, because I know Sun City is picked up. And just to see what's been sitting there before,
That's a good idea.
see it coming in,
That's a good idea right there.
and is Beaufort County recyclables separated from Jasper County from other? Just so we have a true understanding of what they're truly doing. So, quote, yeah, it's a mixed transfer station.
Yeah, it's got to
If
be
we're
mixed.
coming on an
Places dumped
announced
on the
day, I
ground
would
and
imagine
thrown
that
into
it
a
would
can.
be.
They'll.
That's the
thought.
and they used to actually have, when you go there, it's very interesting. If you look through the history of that place, they used to have bays, and they're still full of stuff that they haven't sold. They used to have bays. They had some sort of sorting line at one point, and they had balers, and they had stuff like that. They had equipment there at one point, and then, if you talk to Reggie, who's the attendant there, he's been there forever. Really nice guy. It's just they just stopped investing. The markets tanked, China, that whole thing, and they stopped investing. And now that, you know, we got a kind of a sweetheart contract where, listen, that bill gets paid by one person going to the landfill, they're not gonna put money into that unless their hands are forced in some way, you know, and they're a business, why would they, you know? Kind of a shame, but it is interesting. I mean, but now it's just literally a tipping floor. I mean, it goes, you saw it, you see it's a pile, and they scrape it off and pick it up and put it into a big container. I think they shared ship it to Raleigh. I think that's where is Raleigh, yeah, it's their Recycle America or some facility. I believe it goes there. You know, a lot of it, you know, some of it, who knows, but when it goes into that truck, I believe it goes there. But your point's well made. I mean, who knows how many loads? I guess that's true. How would you know what loads actually get to that tipping floor? You know?
And of course, the report keeps listing 00 recycled Beaufort County, yet you're getting tons of recyclables going there. And having some idea of maybe total processed and on a percentage of what came in on a period of time, you know, proportionate to.
You know, here's the problem we have in Hilton Head, you know, and the guys do it, all the haulers, they throw a good recycling, but, you know, there's about 7 layers of reasoning why that occurs. And, you know, at what point, the haulers get beat up quite a bit. And at what point is it the hauler's responsibility to train people to not contaminate, to report, to not take the material? That's where the argument has to become. But also from a county level, there's no standard, you know, of what's accepted and what's not, you know. Waste management I don't think does a good job of managing that standard and making sure that you know, you drop it, it's inspected and things like that. And so, you know, you go to a place like Sun City, well, you know, you got a row of 100 houses. It's only going to take 5 or 6 of those houses to screw up an entire load, right? Well, now you got the county paying the bill if it's contaminated. So you know what? I may not invest the time to, you know, to train or to not take. I'll just let the process roll, throw it in the trash, and then keep going. You know, because I promise you, if you know, you should get a letter probably or a tag. Most people would. Even the best recyclers are going to screw up that recycling. And if they don't know it, they will continue to screw it up, you know, and
You can't say it's contaminated by looking at it. You really got to assay a load to say that it's contaminated.
well, we inspect everything. My drivers are trained. I spend a lot of time reporting back to people. We don't have a trash truck, right? I don't have a trash truck. I can't take your trash. And my obligation is to not only you, right, but it's to you, to every single person that's in that load that has actually done a good job. So we tag, we don't take, we do all sorts of stuff, but we inspect can by can. I also don't do dumpsters because of that, because I can't inspect a dumpster. I don't like dumpsters. They get contaminated at the bottom level, and it'll blow an entire load. And so there are definitely ways, but you know, our business is recycling, so it's our integrity if we're not giving feedback, you know. But these other companies, you know, they don't, you know, there's no rules to say. You know, that's something we should all look at eventually. Once you can control the MRF, you can create the standards. Okay, now you got county, I don't care what hauler it is, everybody abides in Beaufort County to these standards. It's number 1, number 2, lids off, blah, 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 blah. You know, then you can take control of it. Now you can market it, you can train, you can educate, you know, it becomes much easier. And then you can hold the haulers accountable once they drop that load. You hold them accountable, it'll be amazing how quick they come to the plate. You know, but right now it's a free fall. I'm sorry, I did it again, didn't I? I'm sorry. You got me on my tangent, man. But it's a very complex. It's
In New York, we physically, both municipal and private, paid for New York State environmental conservation inspectors at every facility. My agency, I had 2 full-time DEC inspectors at my landfills, the MRFs, waste to energy, permitted facilities, had to pay a percentage of a inspector with his own vehicle. And it made a difference to have a pair of eyes. It kept everyone.
I wonder what would happen if Beaufort County put a guy who just, you know, spent the money at the MRF. I wonder what you find, you know? Just, you know, nobody has that time, you know? Yeah, right, yeah. It's a lot of sins, you know? You know, would it save you money? Would it, you know, I don't know.
We were always very happy to have a state inspector. Hey, your guy was here, what do you want?
All right, I guess that's everything. We can adjourn. Our next meeting's not until September the 22nd. Same place.
Sooner than later.
I guess, oh, yeah, I got to re-adjourn, yeah, motion to adjourn. Sorry.